Welcome back to Let's Talk Movies. I'm Nick Alexi.
I'm Josh Kaiser.
And we are Omega Level.
Omega level.
Omega Level.
Omega level.
This week, we're going to be talking about the Netflix original movie Polar, which is based on a graphic novel and stars Mads Mikkelsen and Vanessa Hudgens.
In the graphic novel.
Yeah, in the graphic novel, which is a very odd combo of actor-actress for a movie. Like, definitely never would have thought that I'd see Mads Mikkelsen and Vanessa Hudgens on screen together in a movie. That was weird.
And the wonderful special cameo from Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah, the amazing cameo from Knoxville. That was awesome. That was awesome.
Like the first 10 minutes, if that.
No, not even 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's like a 5 minute.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit longer.
Maybe about 5 or 6 minutes at the beginning of the movie. Yeah, that was really cool. When it first started and Johnny Knoxville was like, okay, so we're going to have Johnny Knoxville just out of nowhere. That was awesome. He gets like assassinated by the hitman team. And then there's like an event that happens that I can't talk about that happens with Johnny Knoxville. He's up there like doing a bunch of drugs and he's got this girl with him named Cindy who was part of the team.
And talking about retirement.
Yeah, and he's like retiring now from being a hitman. So they assassinate him. And then this thing happens, and when it happens, I was like, all right, you got me. I'm in. Let's go. Let's see what this movie is.
It's solid.
Can't discuss it because it's pretty vulgar. Like, it's pretty lewd, but yeah, it was funny.
Like your face.
So Polar is based on a graphic novel, and it is about a hitman who is about to enter into retirement. The company that he works for, whenever the hitmen and like assassins, whenever they turn 50, they have to retire, and they pay into this pension fund, and the company will match that pension fund like up to a certain amount, and they owe him $8 million, which is the most they've ever paid anybody. As they are wont to do, the boss of this company is a seedy piece of garbage, and he wants to kill all the hitmen that are coming up to retire. There's like a bunch of contracts coming up, and he wants to kill them all because they all have a clause in their contracts that they signed that if they don't have a beneficiary and they die before retirement, all their pension reverts back to the company, and they just get to gain it as interest, or not as interest, but as profit. So he wants to do all of that so that he can sell his company. But the problem is he tries to target Mads Mikkelsen, the Black Kaiser, which is an absolutely awful idea, as we see throughout this movie. And he's even told by Vivian, who's like his, I guess, like right-hand person?
You talking about Blutz?
Yeah,
right.
Blutz. Like, Blutz.
I would say that she would be the advisor to him.
Yeah, she's like his advisor.
She seems like the one that sets up the things.
Yeah, she tells him like many times, this is not good.
Just pay him the money.
Just pay him the money.
And cut your losses.
So yeah, they try to set him up by sending him to kill this Mexican hitman who they say has been the person going around killing all the older agents, right? They're trying to pin it on this guy. Mm-hmm. And Black Kaiser knows the setup. So he goes, like, they tell him they're going to pay him $1 million for the job and then $1 million when he's done, like up front and then after. So he goes out there, does the job, and then calls Vivian. He's like, you have authorization to pay me for this? She goes, yes. And he's like, all right, send it. She sends it through. He goes, okay, the job's done. Send the other $1 million, and just hangs up. It's like, that's genius.
And he's always smart about cutting the calls. He always cuts the calls at before 30 seconds, so you're not tracked, and breaks every SIM card every single time. And they make a very good point of showing that scene every single time. Boom. Like, they're always, Vivian would say something, be like, are you going to, and then he'd hang up, break the SIM card, call right back on a different phone, and be like, blah, 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 blah. Boom, break the SIM card back at it.
Yeah, which is like they do that and show you that so many times so that you get the point in the end when he doesn't do that. Mm-hmm. He calls her 2 times, I believe, from the same phone from whoever the military supplier woman is he goes and sees that patches him up later on in the movie. He calls Vivian from the phone he gets from her 2 different times, and he doesn't destroy the SIM card because he wants them to find where he is.
He's like, oh, must be because I'm old.
Yeah, must because I'm getting old.
Too sentimental.
Yeah, that was nice.
Before we get too ahead, jeez.
Right. I just wanted to, because that correlates in with that.
Just no, it doesn't. Okay.
All right, I'm done.
But honestly, if you're still listening this far, you know, like I've said before, and like Steven has said before, we can't have order without disorder.
No, you can't. There's no order without chaos.
Welcome to Let's Talk Movies.
Yeah, welcome.
I did enjoy this movie overall. I thought it was a fun watch, definitely fun watch. There was some screenplay issues. There were some sound editing issues. Sound mixing was great, was fine. Film editing was great,
film editing
fine.
was on point.
Definitely heavily influenced by Guy Ritchie.
Absolutely, dude. You can see that.
I mean, just each cut, and some people I could see why they would complain about maybe it's too fast paced because the same cuts kind of kept happening. It was really good, but it was like the same, like boom, 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 gun load.
Very well done. Yeah, it was
but it was very well done in my opinion.
Yeah, very, very well done. Yeah, it was very smooth.
But for me, they had these 3, possibly 4 acts of trying to find a story because it's just like, oh, he's trying to retire. Nothing's really going on.
Right,
they start out from the jump of like this A-team killing this dude, and this is what they do. They clean up the agents. You don't know that. I mean, well, the viewer knows that this is happening from this team, and but like the boss is the one. But the agents that are dying have no idea. They're like, oh, crap, this is happening.
The ones nearing retirement have no idea that the A-team is the one coming to take them all out. Like, they don't know that.
Through these acts, the first act, you know, it's him trying to settle his affairs, donate this money.
Set up for retirement.
Yep, set up for retirement. Donate this $200,000 to
to some random trust fund in a bank in
fund.
Montana that he does apparently every year, $200K every year.
He's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time.
For a long time. Bunch of bank statements, a bunch of stuff like that. And he has all these different estates, and he tells the accountant, like, tell him my Florida's my main one.
Yeah, send everything to Florida.
Because he's tries to be incognito. He's like an ex-hitman of this company, the Democles agent. That's what
Democles
he is.
Agents, what they're called, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he is. And during these acts, for me, it took about an hour in before they started to really kind of flesh out a story.
Yeah, you could definitely tell it's a graphic novel, and they were splicing a bunch of different stories together to make this one, right? So I know the main premise of this is based on the novel. I think it's called Polar Came from the Cold, or He Came from the Cold. Almost that entire graphic novel, from my understanding, I haven't read it, but just from what I've read information about it, deals with him being in Montana in the cold and them coming to try to kill him. So they took that story and just expanded it, and I'm guessing added a bunch of other story beats from other Polar stories into this, right? With like Vanessa Hudgens' character Camille, they added her story into it, and then they added the story of like Blute trying to kill all the other people and sell his business. I'm assuming it's a different story beat, you know. And then they have like a random quick little thing with, like I said, with that girl that woman that helps him and gives him all the guns, where she tells him when he leaves, like, I always knew you'd come back. I was just hoping it'll be for me and not the guns. Obviously that she means something somewhere, so they like just spliced that little part and added in. Like it's kind of choppy in parts. Like you can tell they took a bunch of different things, like they did when they made the first Sin City. They took a couple different stories and put them together. You know what I mean? And like you can tell they did that with this. Like it's obvious it's to see, but overall it mostly flows pretty well together. There's not a whole lot of choppiness where it's like overtly like, oh well, this is completely different, and it doesn't feel like tonally a bunch of different movies.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Tone wise,
you can tell it's a bunch of different stories, but it has the same tone.
Even when it gets to the climax of, and that's what he talked about when it gets to that point when the climax happens, the flow felt natural. You know what I mean? It did feel a little weird at the beginning, given that we just boom right into it, and then we got a nice little story build, whatever, you know, trying to find ourselves. Okay, obviously Mads is revered as a
he's the Black
badass.
Kaiser. He's like apparently the #1 hitman in all the world, the Black Kaiser.
Yeah, the Black Kaiser, and
which was very John Wickish to me. That's what had like a huge John Wick vibe, and a lot of like how they did the coloring and some of the editing and the cuts they did in this movie reminded me a lot of like John Wick, which in itself John Wick reminds me a lot of like Guy Ritchie and Tarantino movies. So like the influence is there from those anyways.
And he did have a dog. For like 5 minutes.
And they did not take that the way they take it in John Wick at all. The dog definitely dies, but it dies at Duncan, who is the Black Kaiser. It dies at his hands.
Shouldn't be licking boots.
Yeah, shouldn't be licking boots. He always sleeps like with a gun, because, you know, he's a hitman. You never know what's going to happen. And the dog's like licking his boots. He's having a bad dream. He's having a nightmare, and it wakes him up, and he shoots the dog.
And he has this reoccurring nightmare throughout the entirety of the film, too.
Which I'm assuming, which is part of like the Camille story. And I'm assuming that's tacked on from a different story, as well as him taking down Blute. That him being tortured and taking down Blute seems like it's tacked on from something else as well.
What do you mean?
Like, I don't think that would be the same story as just them trying to kill him out in Montana.
You know? Oh, you're saying like
that's probably later on in the graphic novel series he goes to finally kill Blute.
True, but then when it gets to the end, it seems like there's definitely more to happen.
Yeah, there's even more to go on,
unless they just took from all these different ones and combined it, and
unless
it would
I'm
make a
wrong,
really choppy story.
And Came from the Cold is all of this? I don't know. I haven't read it, so.
Yep. We can't go off the actual source material.
I've never heard of the graphic novel until I watched this movie. It does seem interesting. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to checking out the graphic novel. I like the Black Kaiser character. It was really cool.
Yeah, and they didn't really require Mads to do much, but at the same time, he did a lot.
True. That's a testament to Mads as an actor. This character was very one note. That's where some issues I know you and I had with the screenplay for this. It was like his character is not very well developed at all from a creative standpoint. From watching the movie, you can just tell that Mads does so much with it. You know what I mean? Like just his mannerisms and the way that he emotes certain things. Like he brings so much to the character.
Because it wasn't revealed how many years he was in this company, but let's just say
probably been 20, 30.
He's almost 50.
Yeah.
Say he's been in there for 20 years. You're going to be desensitized to almost anything.
Yeah, for sure.
And they make jokes about how he's kind of losing it. You know, they kept saying he's like, we don't want people with Alzheimer's. Just because you're over 50 doesn't mean you automatically have Alzheimer's. You know, you cut your losses. You don't want to have an old man, even though he clearly is better than anybody that they ever bring towards him. Like there's no competition, even at his age, and being tortured for 4 straight days. Like don't get me wrong, it's not like all 24 hours. Like he's probably tortured for multiple hours. Stops
each day,
rest up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, they do that. Like, and Blute says this too. He does that because he wants it to be slow and painful. He's got 4 days to do this. He wants it to last, so he can't just straight torture him for 24 hours each day. He would just die of pain, you know, or blood loss. He has to like spread it out.
And the Black Kaiser didn't wince once.
No,
the entire torture thing.
Well, he screams when he gets stabbed in the eye, but isn't like when he gets cuts and stuff.
When he got stabbed in the eye, that was finally the moment that he broke down.
Every time he gets cut, he's just But
he still didn't ask for like, oh, stop. Like, he's like, no.
He's dope, bro. He's Duncan.
This is weak poop.
Speaking of Blute, that was one of my points of contention with the movie. Is I did not think that the guy that played the villain Blute did a very good job. He's very hammy and over the top. And when he first shows up, I was like, okay, so he's just going to be an over-the-top villain. Like, I'm on board with that. As it went on, it's just everyone else around him I felt was just far outclassing him performance-wise. He just seemed like the worst performance in the room every scene he was in when he had other people with him. And I was just like, man, he's just not up to the standard that everyone else is. And it's not like everyone else is giving these jaw-dropping amazing performances. I would really only say that Mads, maybe the actress that played Vivian, and then Vanessa Hudgens' Camille were the only ones that really of note to me in the movie.
I disagree on the Blut thing. I don't think that he was obviously. You got to ask yourself, what did the director ask him to do? I feel like that is something that he performed what he was asked to do. He was a rich, pompous. Like he even talked about that was my dad's favorite weapon. They had the same birthmark on their face. Like he talked about this sword and the bones.
And his dad looks just like him. I'm pretty sure it's a picture of the same actor as
probably.
His dad.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
But I definitely know what you're getting at. A lot of this does fall on the director, for sure. Absolutely. The performance always does.
And I don't feel like he was just like, I can't get behind this character. But like I was saying, he's pompous. He's rich. He's just been given everything. Is my thought. I mean, even when he shoots a gun, he's not a good shot.
No, he's terrible.
For like just the 2 times he did it, he's not a fighter. He's a businessman. He's the one that knows the numbers. Yeah, he's gifted this thing. He knows the numbers. He knows what to say when he has a little meeting with these 2 agents, Smith and looks like Agent Smith. And both of them.
Yeah, they did.
Like they're identical. I could see what you mean, but that Hammy for me kind of hit. It wasn't like he was like, oh man, I'm gonna always remember this villain. No, he's a very forgettable villain. But for the movie, it set the tone for that because I was more or less deal with the other characters, the A-team that came at him. You know, they're the ones, for me, was more of a focus point because they kind of gave them a little bit more life. And,
I mean, they were all kind of one note. I mean, Cindy was just promiscuous. Hilda was just concerned. Well, yeah, she was a killer.
Was the girlfriend.
She was the girlfriend of Blut, but she was very much so just concerned with self-preservation, with surviving. The easiest way to survive and not be killed? Oh, I'll just become his girlfriend. That's pretty much what that seemed to me. Like, I definitely don't think she loved the guy. It was a career advancement move.
Yeah, no.
And then Alexei is just like, he's honestly the least developed of all. He doesn't really do anything.
But I don't know. She did say, I love you, and he just goes,
All the villains, like the A-team, are very one note, but they all play their note very well. You know what I mean? Very well.
Yep. And that's definitely something that you're not going to go into this movie thinking that that's like, man, I really hope the acting's great.
Before we continue on, we need to take a quick little break to give a shout out to our sponsors, Ink or Dye Studios. Omega Level is proudly sponsored by Ink or Dye Studios, a unique combination of a tattoo parlor and hair salon. Located at 270 North Dakota Street by Flanagan's, Ink or Dye Studios employs the best artists and stylists around. Boasting a friendly atmosphere, helpful, talented, and incredibly creative staff, Ink or Dye Studios is the only tattoo shop and hair salon you'll ever need. Stop in, call, or contact them through their social media accounts today to set up an appointment.
Cinematography was solid.
It was
They did
solid.
some typical shots.
Scenes were awesome.
The Montana scenes were shot. The landscapes were awesome. Great set design.
When Camille's out there
set
taking
location.
Very good location. Location scouting.
Location scouting. Because they would show a stream and just how still the air was. Nothing would shake, and man, it was just really beautiful.
Whenever she was doing her photography out there, all that looked gorgeous. That was very cool.
She had a really dark backstory, but then you find out she lied.
Her backstory is awful, and like it's not. It's weird. Like I can't say it's worse than what actually happened, or it's not as bad as what actually happened because it's completely 2 different things, and both of them are just like life-altering, earth-shattering, awful things that happen to somebody.
Yeah,
it's
even
terrible.
the lie was like, "Oh man, I see why you're messed up." Like,
yeah, I definitely see
have
why.
that, and then then you find out the real reason. You're like, "Oh man."
What made the lie
kind of cliche, I guess, in a way. They kind of a cop out. You know, I mean,
I can see that.
For me, it didn't. I was like, "Oh, that's a cool twist." Some people saw it way sooner. You said you saw it from like a mile away.
I don't think they built the twist that well. It does kind of come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? But I did see it coming. Like I saw it coming in a sense, right? So obviously we spoil everything here. So if you've watched this, you've watched the movie. Hopefully, the twist in all this is that throughout the movie, the Black Kaiser Duncan keeps having these nightmares, these reoccurring nightmares of this car on a street and him shooting inside of it, and opening a door and seeing all like 2 or 3 different dead people, and then the door slams on him, right? And that keeps happening over and over and over again. So it wants you to question, like, that's the point, I thought. But the director wanted you to question, why do I keep seeing this? What is going on? So it just felt like, to me, it was very obvious. It was setting up for that to lead to something. I wasn't sure that it was going to be like a twist, but I knew that it was going somewhere. And as the movie went on, I figured it had something to do with Camille, but I had no reason to not believe her history, her backstory, right? So I thought that had something to do with Camille, like maybe it was like her brother was in there or something, I don't know. But it did end up being about Camille, because that was her parents, and her brother or sister was also in there, her pregnant sister.
I'm pretty sure it was, she said the brother and then the dad and the mom.
I think I could have sworn
I only saw 2 people in there.
Yeah.
She mentioned I can feel my brother's this.
Yeah, it was her brother, yeah.
I could feel my dad's on my shoulder. I could smell my brother's little boy smell, which I thought was a stupid line.
I thought that he...
gender... I don't know. It just doesn't make
sense.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's just a weird...
smell of a little boy.
Smell of a little boy.
Yeah,
okay, get out of here.
Yeah, it was a little overwrought.
2019, Polar.
So it ends up coming out at the end of the movie that was her family. And you finally get to see the final scene of that like the shot, and when he opens the door fully, and there's a young girl, like a 9-year-old girl, just sitting there on the seat, covered in blood, and her family's dead in front of her.
He's pointing a gun at her.
And he's pointing a gun at her, and then he doesn't kill her. So he's been sending these checks, $200,000 every year to this bank in Montana, and it's been for her this whole time. And she even says, like, I always knew paid for my school. Someone's been supporting me, and I didn't know who or why. The A-team comes for Duncan. Alexei escapes, and he kidnaps Camille and takes him with her, and then they turn her into a heroin addict, which is awful. While they're torturing Duncan for 4 days, she's just laid up in another room on a couch just being injected with heroin all the time.
And I didn't think about it until a little bit after watching the movies that there was a junkie Jane. She was in like 3 scenes.
Yeah, not even many, but she travels with them.
And she's the one that's injecting the heroin into her body.
She's Alexei's girlfriend. Like, they have sex at least.
Apparently. Yeah. But I didn't start thinking about it until they started doing the heroin scene a little bit after watching the movies that what if she was a part of another person that they captured and they just turned her into a junkie and
now she just has to be there.
The person wasn't able to have a Black Kaiser come save her.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Which Camille luckily does. So yeah, Black Kaiser goes in, he yells at everybody and wins the day, and he saves her, and he takes her back to his cabin in Montana, and he's like trying to detox her, over the course of a couple of days, and then he wakes up and she's just not in bed, but all of his files are strewn about in the bed, and it's got all his checks and stuff in there. And then she has
pictures of the family.
And pictures of the family. And then she has a gun on him. And then that's the reveal of, she is the little girl. And he didn't recognize her, which at first really didn't sit well with me. As the scene was going on, I'm like,
she's
really?
9 and now she's like 28.
He didn't know. But they thankfully do put a line in there where she even says, you didn't recognize me? You murdered my family and you didn't recognize me? And he says, like, I didn't want to interfere with your life. So he sent these checks, but he never looked her up. He never followed her life around. He didn't even know that she was the girl in Montana. He had no idea when he first met her. He had no clue who she was.
She knew who he was.
And then she had a reason of why she acted so odd that he believed at face value, because why would she lie to him?
Yep.
She's just some random person, and he's not going to reveal too much about himself because he doesn't want her to know who he is,
Well, even when she makes a comment about, like, is killing easy? And he's like, I wouldn't know. Or I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
She knew, obviously, because when she saw him in the gas station in a
she knew who he was
scene,
immediately.
That's why she was acting all weird and like jumpy and stuff like that. And she kept approaching him. There was another scene where they're at the bar and she drinks the what do they call it?
I can't remember what she calls it. Yeah, it's the winter coffee. Yeah. We're like, is it coffee with like bourbon or something?
Whiskey.
Yeah. That's why she's so timid all the time around him. And to be honest with you, I'd never even really thought about that until you just said that. That's a good catch. That's why she's so timid, and that's what makes her story make even more sense. That's why he would believe it more. Oh, that's why she's like this. And one thing that really led to me believing in her story more is the fact that she wears these big baggy clothes all the time. Like, yeah, they're in Montana and it's really cold, it's snowing out, you know what I mean? But she's wearing clothes that do not fit her. They're way too large for her, which a lot of times I have seen, like, I personally have not experienced, obviously, but I have seen that, like, when people have a trauma, and her backstory trauma was that she was molested when she was young, like when she was a young teenager. A lot of times people ends up messing with their mind. Obviously, that's a terrible event to happen to you, but then they don't want people to look at them as sexual objects, as sexual beings. And her wearing all those baggy clothes and not showing off any part of her body led me to believe that, oh, yeah, okay, so this is why she's so freaked out about everything all the time. She's always on edge, and then she wears these big baggy clothes to not attract attention to herself. It just gave more credence to her story, which is, I guess, a credit to Camille to just be able to think of all that and roll with all that. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this has got to be believable.
She didn't even skip a beat.
No, because she totally just dupes them into this whole thing.
And that also is like, because there are a decent amount of men out there that are just sickos. They're just
absolutely did
for some reason get off on either beating or doing these sexual things.
Awful.
And there was a scene in this where earlier on when they went to the Florida house, because the A-team is going from house to house, estate to estate, to try to find out.
But they only know 3 of them.
Well, I thought they went to 4.
No, they don't know about Montana at first.
Oh, they didn't know about Montana at first. They went to 3. Well, they go here, and it's Cindy, and she's the one that they send in because guys are very impressionable when a beautiful, voluptuous woman walks up and just is like, oh, hey, haha. Like, she's obviously way smarter than she lets on, but that's the ploy. That's the being a good spy, being a part of a great, the Damocles agent. And
she's also completely.
But as soon as she gets there, like, I don't even know the whole. Yeah,
they all are. I mean, all of them are. All 5 of them
you're
are.
a murderer.
They're just nutcases. I mean, the A-team. I'm sure a lot of the
Mr. T was in it.
The non-accused agents have like crazy problems, but the A-team especially, they're all psychos.
Yep. Going on that scene, she like walks in, and I guess she was setting up like, oh, is this looking for 506? And it's on the door, and she's acting clueless, like because that makes
she's trying to come across as like a dumb blonde,
like somebody I can take advantage of, like sickos.
Absolutely.
Well, they go in, and his first thing is like, what are you able to do? And he like punches her in the face, and it's like, okay, wow.
And he's got a bed set up with a tarp, like plastic tarp, over it, and a camera in front of him. It's like, oh well, this guy's
I think
not
there
up
were
to
3
good.
cameras in front of him.
This guy's up to no good.
Yeah, what the heck, man? Like,
and this is the scene that I thought had the really awful audio editing too.
See, and I didn't.
I
guess I have to go back.
Did not match him. So if that's the same person, then I'm just wrong on this. But the ADR for it seemed like it was so apparent they had to go back and do ADR for this scene, and his voice didn't match him. And I didn't think I did when I watched it the first time. I've only seen it once, but it didn't look like his words were matching his mouth. It was just really bad editing, like so much so that it brought me out. I was like, oh my god, this is awful. And there was 1 or 2 other times throughout the movie too where I just thought that like the audio editing just was not on. Like it brought me out of the movie a couple times. Like that was one of my biggest problems with it. It just ruined the mood.
See, the only audio editing that I guess was apparent to me was sometimes it was lower than what it needed to be.
What did I just say? I'm always right. Moving on. Yeah, I did feel like that.
Wow.
It changed levels throughout the movie.
It was a constant level change.
Yeah.
Mixing was great though. I mean, all the different effects of pulling the guns, breaking the boxes, doing stuff like that. The warehouse scene, the tunnel scene.
Dude, my God, had its own little old boy moment in that tunnel scene. Ooh, that tunnel scene was hot fire. Hot fire.
Mads Mikkelsen.
But yeah, just to do back to Camille's character real quick. Wrap up what I was trying to say about that. So yeah, they have the reveal that Camille is the little girl, and he didn't know who it was, and she wants to kill him. Obviously, because she murdered her parents, and she has like this, it gives like this like monologue speech to him, which comes across very well in her acting, but some of what she says is kind of lame. It's kind of corny. Like when you said about the brother, like, oh, I can still smell his little boy smell or whatever. Like it was kind of dumb.
Yeah,
but
delivery was fine.
The delivery, the performance of it was great.
The dialogue
dude.
itself was kind of like
some of it was a little spotty, and like I even had to rewind and watch it again just to make sure I caught everything. Because like I said, like I was like, oh, he doesn't recognize who she is and blah blah. But they do explain all of that stuff, and then it ends with her having the gun on him, right? And she's like, I don't want to see you anymore. Like, I don't want you around. I don't want you in my life. I don't want to see you.
Come back.
And I want them to come back.
So she's thinking, if I shoot you,
it'll make everything.
It's gonna make everything reappear, and I'm gonna be okay. That's not how. That's
right.
Not how that works.
People always think that, but he accepts fully. Like he has
closes the eyes.
He has nightmares throughout the whole movie about this. He has guilt about this. Like this is the one thing that's truly affected him. And we see as the movie goes on, like it's the typical cliche. He's like the hitman with a heart. They also kind of lead you to believe that he is growing this way in his old age. Like he definitely was not always like this.
No.
And the fact that he murdered her family, maybe he didn't even hit him until 10 years later. You know what I mean? And it started really affecting him. So like it seems like it doesn't even seem like everything he's done in life is affecting him. That one moment has really affected him and come back to haunt him. Absolutely. And it's kind of opened him up as a person. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
He's getting more sentimental, as they say in the movie, like as he's getting older and realizing that like his life is coming to an end and like maybe he's wasted his whole life murdering people.
It's time for retire. It's time for change.
Yeah, but he accepts his fate. And he like wants her to have her vengeance and kill him because he feels so guilty about it. And he tries to coach her through killing him. He's like, it's okay. It's okay.
Shut down your mind.
Just shut down your mind and squeeze the trigger slowly. It's okay. It's okay. And then he closes his eyes and she shoots and it cuts. And they had me too. I was like, oh my God.
I know. I was like, man, I want to see the next one.
She shot that mug. But then it comes back and he's still sitting in the room with her. And they sit in the silence for a couple seconds. And she looks at him and she's like, do you think we can find out who wanted to kill my father? Or do you know who wanted to kill my father? And he's like, no, but I might be able to find out. And then he turns and walks outside.
I had that back and back.
It
was like that same thing. He's like, yeah, she asked, like, do you know who did it? And he's
no.
He's like, do you think we can find him? He's like, we can try.
We can try, yeah. So then he just walks away and leaves her in the room and goes to smoke a cigarette. And she walks outside and they both like put their hands over the banister and they're like looking off into the distance and they look at each other and then look back at the screen and it just gives you that. It gave me a moment of like, ooh, of like real hype. Like that was my favorite part of the movie because it makes me excited for a sequel. Overall, I think the movie is worth watching. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever, but I don't think it's awful. And it gets me excited for a sequel.
It's his #1 of the year.
Yeah, it is actually my #1 of the year because I've only seen 2 movies that have been released in 2019, both Netflix movies too, this and I.O.
Yeah.
But we definitely need to jump back and talk about the classroom scene. When she convinces Duncan to go teach children because he says that he was a traveling...
I don't know how to talk to children.
He worked for a funeral home and they had to send him overseas all the time to go and like sort people's affairs out and stuff like that.
99 countries?
Yeah, and he says he's been to 99 countries, and he speaks 8 languages. And she's like, well, that's something that, no one around here knows that kind of stuff. Maybe you should go like teach the kids and talk to them for a day or something. He's like, I don't know how to talk to kids. But then he goes and does it.
Cuts to him instructing a class
he definitely
of children.
does not know how to talk to kids.
No, he does not. And the teacher's in the back at first kind of receptive to the whole situation.
Yeah, and then as it goes on, she's like, oh man.
I mean, yeah, when it gets to the point, he's like, have you guys ever seen a dead body out in the sun? Here, pass this around.
Yeah. And then it's opened up with him with a knife, and he's got like this stand figure in front of him.
How it's good to slice.
Yeah.
This knife is good for slicing, but not
puncturing and stabbing. Yeah. And then he's like this, and he just shows them this move where he cuts like 5 different places.
Little kid's just standing there.
And this kid, so there was a kid standing there. I was like, okay, like I can't believe the teacher didn't stop this halfway through.
When it got to the body, she's like, just freaking out, jaw dropped. It was gosh. It was
and
really
then
good.
he comes out when he's done, like, and Camille's out there waiting. I'm like, how'd it go? And he's like, I think it went well.
Jumping again to the and probably the coolest shot. It's been used a bunch. It's not, but it really set well with the snow setting and the trees and stuff like that. It was a drone shot.
Yeah, it was a drone shot.
Faded
for sure.
out, just slow. A ride, got all the way, ascended to the top, and just faded. Boom. Black.
That looked cool.
Yep, I thought it was really cool. That was nice.
Dude, in that hallway scene, my lord, dude, that was beast mode. He went ham on everyone in the tunnel. After he's being tortured, he ends up escaping, as the hero character is always going to do. Blute stabs him at one point with a scalpel, and it snaps off, and he doesn't retrieve it. So Duncan retrieves it and gets out of his cuffs, and then just massacres all of the arm guards that Blute brings with him. Everybody, dude, in that area, and then out into the tunnel, and then he goes to Blute's house to kill him. Or no, he escapes, and he gets.
Oh, he's still in Blute's. That whole thing was in Blute's.
No, yeah, he does all that stuff, and then he escapes and leaves, and that girl patches him up and stuff, and gives him all his stuff. And then he makes the mistake of calling twice from the same phone, and they track his location, and he has this awesome technology that this woman gave him that are these like gloves he puts on that control
like
these
guns. Gloves, yeah.
He puts on power gloves and controls these guns that he's got hidden, and he murders everybody that Blute sends there, including Vivian and Alexi.
He gave Vivian a shot to turn around.
He tries to let her go.
I'll give you a chance to leave.
And
what's awesome about that is he put his cigarettes about halfway smoked on the car. And then just shoots laser beams, these turrets from behind. One of the coolest,
it was amazing.
That's awesome technology. I like that. I like that they try to incorporate stuff like that.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Because nothing super high tech was ever really brought into this. And then boom, we have this chick with an arsenal of weapons, just unreal. Like Batman, who? Okay, let's not get crazy. I'm sorry, but unloads that, and she doesn't turn around at all until she finally gets shot in the back because she thinks
it's her people.
Yeah, because he's only one man. What is he gonna do?
Yeah, what's he gonna do?
But they're all dead, and he's able to pick up a cigarette and still puff a couple times. I'm just saying that's how quick that was.
Like that.
Like he knew.
And then he sees a camera on, like, they all have cameras on them.
Yep, they all have cameras. We saw one with the red dot.
So then he goes off to Blute's, and Blute gets like the last remaining of his security, and they're up in his room, and they look out into the window, and they see the Black Kaiser walking across like the, not parking lot, but like he lives like a big mansion. So it's like this huge driveway, and he's like walking up towards the door, and then they do something that's really awesome that you don't ever see in stories like this. His guards just abandoned him. They're like, nah, we're out of here, man.
Yeah,
this guy just
that's
murdered.
On you.
This guy just got tortured for 4 days, escaped, murdered like 100 people, and now he's back for us after killing another like 50 people in a warehouse. Nah, man, we're out.
And he's walking through the house, and they're like, excuse me.
They're like, excuse me, sir.
You don't see
and
that.
He's just letting them leave because he's got no qualm with them.
Because that's me. That was 100% me. If I'm involved in something like that,
I'm like,
I see this person,
I'm
like, no,
issue.
clearly I'm not good enough to do
He doesn't know
this.
me.
He killed A-Team.
Yeah.
That's the best we have.
He killed the A-Team and everyone else we have, and he doesn't know who I am. I don't know who he is. I don't have a problem with him. You do. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
No, bro, you handle this.
Like, get out of here.
Yeah, I'm out. And then he shows up and like murders Blute within a second, and he
chops off his head with an axe. Cool. And that was another thing on the
where
sound.
It flies out the window.
No, where he dropped the axe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, he had a sword and a gun, Blute did, and then it just shows from a side view of the Black Kaiser, Mads Mikkelsen. Just as soon as it's like him cocking his weapon, but it was an axe.
But an axe.
Yeah. And then you just see a head pop off. His receptionist, when he was walking in, he's like, hey, do you have an appointment? I'll get you some coffee. And she walks in. She's like, oh, dear.
Overall, I did enjoy the movie. I had some issues with it, as I've spoken about. I thought the audio editing was not so good. It wasn't very consistent. Like you said, the levels rose and dropped.
Up,
and like
down.
you get that a lot in movies, but it's usually with music. Like the music's just louder than the dialogue. But
this
like,
one is like
the
no
dialogue
music, is just low.
Everything in its entirety would lower and raise. Like it was just really weird.
Yeah, and it felt like a simple score, but I thought it was cool. It was like a electronic hip hop.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it.
It felt good.
I thought Mads and Vanessa Hudgens did very well with what they were given. It does make me excited to see a sequel because I liked their chemistry. I thought they had good chemistry.
Definitely not gonna be like, oh, I'm so excited, but like,
no, it's
definitely gonna tune in.
A Netflix sequel, I'll definitely watch it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I had some issues overall. I do think it's worth watching. Like if you like Mads Mikkelsen or Vanessa Hudgens, or you like Hitman stories, John Wick kind of movies, Guy Ritchie kind of stuff, I think you'd probably dig it. Like it's a good watch. It's worth your time.
Just a forewarning: there is some mild nudity, not a lot. There's one scene that's quite funny.
It's definitely not. I mean, I guess
it's not something.
In the scope of the film, the nudity is mild, as it doesn't happen all the time. But the one scene that does happen happens for quite a long time.
Fit in the story, oddly enough, because there was something at the beginning of the movie that happened, and it kind of tried to happen again.
And it
but you did it to the wrong dude.
Yeah, to the black Kaiser. He's too smart.
You did it to the wrong
person.
The
best scene in the whole movie, I mean, I don't know, man. It's either the Montana shootout where he kills the A-team, or it's the hallway scene. I'm not sure which one. They're both so good.
I think the most like, oh my gosh moment was the, I mean, honestly, the warehouse.
I mean, the warehouse was awesome too, but the warehouse is really quick.
But I was where. But I think that's also a testament to be like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
he just did this with like
those 3 scenes are awesome. Like those 3 scenes alone, if you like action stuff, are worth watching.
Yeah, definitely.
That whole
hype
Montana
moment tunnel,
is,
the tunnel, but
tunnel's awesome.
The Montana was more methodical.
It's very intelligent.
Yeah,
it's
very
methodical.
Very methodical.
He says to
you get to see Mads' butt. Shout out to Mads'
Shout
butt.
out to Mads. Out there in the snow, butt naked.
Just doesn't care.
That's what it was.
When he jumped from the tree. I thought that was so cool.
Oh yeah, we jump on top of the tree and
he
jumps
tricked
on
him with
the
the snipe thing, and then oh man, that was so cool.
Speaking of what's a little trippy for you, the one guy that was with them, that was the tallest one with the black hair, used to be a wrestler.
Yeah,
he was in the group called the Oddities in WWE.
He's also in a series of unfortunate events.
Oh, is he? Yeah,
he's one of Olaf's henchmen.
The Montana scene is just very, very like methodical and intelligent. Like he knows what's happening the whole time. He knows this woman is here to seduce him. Like he's not stupid. He's the Black Kaiser.
Get out of here.
So when she goes to do her little thing she does earlier in the movie, he counteracts it and she gets shot. And then he rolls off the bed and they do something really, really intelligent. They have an Apex Legends moment where while she's on the ground shot, she is relaying to her team where he is. She's like, southeast side of the bedroom in the corner between the bed and the wall.
Boom,
and
shot,
so they're trying to shoot there and he's rolling away hearing her. And eventually he's like, all right, well, this woman is like not helping. Shoots her in the leg and throws an axe in her face when she falls down and is like, oh no.
She got marked.
And then he gets out of the house, goes up to where the sniper is. Murks the sniper, takes his earpiece, and then starts talking to Hilda, that's still in the house.
Talking about being a bad man.
Bro, he is a badass.
You're killing these people. He's like, you need to be calm or you'll make a mistake.
Dude, that was the hardest line in the whole movie. He was like, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
People make mistakes when they're afraid. And I was like, oh my God.
She's like, I'm not afraid.
Like, I'm not afraid. Shake. And then she takes out flares and throws them into the house because she knows the sniper has like thermal vision.
That's awesome.
And so it's going to mess up the vision, which was so intelligent. And then the other dude comes out there to kill him, and then Mads is up in the tree now, and he pops down and kills that guy.
And they have a nice little sequence too where they show him stripping the body.
Yeah, where he takes the clothes off the body.
Takes the clothes off the body, and that's more or less to make it seem more natural that he's underneath it.
Exactly.
Less bulky stuff like that, but man, that was cool.
Very smart.
Film editing was great.
And
it's
then
just
the way
they
he
reused.
Yeah, they did
They reused
stuff.
certain cuts.
The way he gets Hilda was awesome. Hilda, the way he gets her.
Double tap.
She's behind the fridge.
Zombieland, bro. Double tap.
Yep. And then he sees like the flares finally wear up, and he sees her breath, and he shoots the fridge, and then she falls off. And as she's falling up, he shoots her again and kills her.
Because I thought normally it'd just be like one shot, but no, they added that second shot, and I thought that was really
gorgeous.
Attention to detail.
It was very, very good attention to detail. Like I said, there's things like that happen in the movie that's like, man, that was so fresh.
Story's not going to blow you away. You might be like, oh, that was a good twist, or oh, that ruined the movie for me. But for an action standpoint and just seeing a hitman type movie. It's cool. It's definitely something to check out.
It doesn't do a lot story-wise new for the genre. It has some really cool beats in it, and like, overall, it's worth your time. Like it was cool.
And if you do like the actress Vivian, Catherine Winnick, I believe I'm saying her name right, she's in a show called The Vikings. She's absolutely amazing in that. Lagatha, she's awesome, powerful, and she don't give no beeps.
It wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it wasn't awful. It had some really cool beats to it that made it worth my time. So I feel confident in recommending the movie,
Yeah, it's no All About Eve, but we do it what we can.
If you haven't seen All About Eve, you don't love movies.
You don't love movies.
But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out, however you're doing it, whether it's on the tubes, on TV, the tubes is YouTube, by the way, or TV or audio. However you're listening and watching us, we appreciate you. Make sure you check out all of our social medias. Let us know what you think of Polar if you've seen it. If not, does this make you want to watch it? Do you have any recommendations for movies you would like to see us talk about in the future? Let us know. Josh Fat.
Yee.